Here's today's update. Hospitalizations are up to almost 1,500, which is like, 3/4 of the way back up to our max. I mean, our peak hospitalizations back in January were only like 2,000. So we're 3/4 of the way back up to our peak hospitalizations back then. Deaths are starting to ramp up. So this is, I mean, it's not over. It's still going on, and it's getting, kind of worse every single day. The hospitals are out saying the Delta variant, low vaccination rates are pushing OKC hospitals to capacity. So health officials are, saying we're stretched to our limit. With fewer than half of all Oklahomans fully vaccinated against COVID, hospitals are dealing with a number of patients they've not seen since January. So anyway, drumbeat of concern. And so the question is like, what are our political leaders doing? And of course, the cop out for the locals is that we passed, Senate Bill 658, which prevents mandatory mask mandates in schools and other entities. But our governor, we covered it last probably 2 weeks, but, was getting s'mores and Altus back on the 10th. And now,
after a week of caviar in Azerbaijan.
Yeah. After a week of vacationing on the shores of the Caspian Sea, now he's up in Ponca City discovering fun facts. Like, did you know there are 2 Olympic wrestling champions from Ponca City in the 1960s? And it's just sort of like, I mean, that's cool if you got nothing else going on. Hit your ass up some Ponca City and figure that out. But, like, I think we got some things you got to be dealing with, man. And I mean, what's even weirder to me about this like tour is like, I get that this is like some virtue signal to like the rural areas, and like in any other context, like I guess that'd be fine politically. But like the funny thing to me is that like most of his voters live in like Broken Arrow, Yukon, Mustang, North Edmond. I mean, they don't live like out in Ponca City, like, or Altus. No offense to our folks from Altus, but like. So he's like doing this thing that's like very performative, like I'm gonna go and bring the whole cabinet there and do this tour thing. But it's like most of his voters like aren't actually there. So I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it also seems like a weird thing to me politically. So then,
go ahead.
Oh no. So the last thing I wanted to on this tangent is. So then the governor and the attorney general, like the one thing they did finally say, other than just like letting Lance Fry just barf all over himself, doing a bunch of nothing.
A COVID hostage video, please put a mask on.
Yeah. please, I'm begging you. Get a vaccine. I don't know what else to do. So Stitt and the new attorney general O'Connor slam a school district out in, which school district was it again?
Holbert.
Holbert. Yeah, Holbert. So they go and pick on this teeny tiny school district and slam them for implementing a mask mandate after like some absurd percentage of their school district caught COVID and they started having to cancel classes. So now they're going to go use the full power of the state's attorney general's office to go after this Holbert school district, while weirdly letting Oklahoma City and others kind of off the hook. Really bullying, bizarre behavior out of Stitt. But like that, this is like his reaction. Instead of saying like, yeah, shit's bad, you guys can do what you need to do, whatever, like we passed this law, but whatever. We don't care that much. Kind of like what they did with Oklahoma City. They're going to go and like terrorize this school district who is like desperately trying to stop a COVID outbreak. And man, that is like seriously fucked up.
So a few things, man. Something I don't know the answer to, but I would love to know is like, how many days a week do kids in Holbert go to class before the pandemic and now? What's the average spending per pupil on children in Holbert schools? How many, do they have an adequate number of teachers, or are they like my beloved Hugo, Oklahoma, having to issue emergency authorizations for teachers every year because they don't have the ability to attract them? So where the fuck was Kevin Stitt when they had all that going on? He was making it fucking worse. So now when they have an opportunity to try to have students in class, and the only way they feel they can do that, which by the way, we talk about again modern conservatism bullshit. Who is the best position to figure out how they can do it? It's supposed to be the locals, right? It lies with them. When they try to do something to have class, which is a mass mandate because there is a COVID outbreak, he fucks that up. Like, it's one thing to do nothing. It's another thing to fuck it up. And I take great issue with this because I'm from rural Oklahoma. I'm Hugo, Oklahoma, born and raised. And I know Kevin Stitt does nothing for those rural places. I know he doesn't because he hadn't done anything from where I come from and my people. And so for him to, and I mean this with the utmost sincerity, to not give a fuck about children, his entire administration, and then shit on the school trying to educate children with the limited resources he's given them, the state gives them, is asinine. It's ridiculous, and it like the most fiery pits of hell is where he should go. So I want to get that out of the way, and I also want to shout out Monroe Nichols for this incredible bar. This is the best bar I've seen about Kevin Stitt. The greatest asset COVID has in Oklahoma is not misinformation. It's Governor Kevin Stitt. Right? It's one thing to do nothing. It's another thing to make it worse. It's one thing to say, let the school districts figure out. If they want to do masks, let them do masks. If they don't want to do masks, don't have them do masks. It's another thing to say you can't do masks when we know masks is the only way they can legitimately have school. Right? The greatest asset, as Nichols said, that COVID has is Kevin Stitt. These are the policies that are actually killing people. And no disrespect to Ponca City, now is not the time for me to find out trivia questions about the fucking wrestlers that come from y'all when people are dying in the streets. Like 1,500 Oklahomans are in the hospital. So many other Oklahomans will not be able to get the care that they need because our hospitals are at full capacity. I don't give a fuck what Greco-Roman wrestler was coming out of Ponca City in the 50s. No disrespect to Ponca City. And lastly, just a lack of leadership. Whenever you have something as dire as a once-in-a-century global murderous pandemic, you need leaders. You need someone to say, this is how we're going to resolve this, how we're going to address this, how we're going to resolve this issue, this is how we're going to keep Oklahomans safe and alive. Kevin Stitt simply cannot do that. He simply makes it worse. It is not the job of teachers and superintendents and doctors and hospital administrators to say, okay, we need y'all to put masks on. We need y'all to make sure y'all get here. We need to make sure your students are here. We need to make sure we do. That's not their job. The job of teachers is to teach. The job of doctors and nurses is to treat our ailments. The job of hospital administrators is to make sure they can do that in the most efficient and effective way possible. Kevin Stitt has made all of that worse. And that's the problem I have. If you're not going to help, like Biden said, if you ain't going to help, at least stay the fuck out the way. He didn't say like that, but if you're not going to help, stay the fuck out the way. And as Nichols said, like the greatest asset that COVID has, the Delta variant has, that death has in this state is our governor. The person that the majority of Oklahomans elected, if no other thing, just to fucking protect us. And he's failing horribly on that front. He's making it worse. He's killing Oklahomans.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a tweet earlier that was like, we've had 200 deaths, I think, this week, which is like bigger than the Murrah bombing. It's many times the number that died in like the 1999 war tornado. And you think about our reaction. I mean, how everyone threw on their jacket and got their Oklahoma flag and showed up and said how we're all going to stand together for like 130 people dying, and you lost 200 last week and you can't even put a fucking mask on your face. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what? Like, it's so beyond parody at this point that it just, I mean, you really have to wonder what has broken in people's brains to justify that behavior.
It just doesn't make any sense. Our mom and them know, I say often you have to laugh to keep from crying. And a lot of the humor you find in this show, at least for me, I could say, aimed at this ridiculousness that is spewed from Kevin Stitt and his minions, is me laughing to keep from crying. Because it like children are getting COVID at this point, right? Like I get 200 Oklahomans perished. That's 200 individuals that had, mothers, fathers, children, nieces, nephews. They had jobs and people cared for them. And next week, probably approaching another 200 souls will perish. Like this is like what we're dealing with It's not just numbers. These are human beings that are perishing because we don't have a governor willing to take any type of leadership role in which we elected.
I mean, I know
He wants
multiple
to talk about
people's. Oh, go ahead.
Ponca City wrestling statues.
Yeah.
What in the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me right now? You can't be serious.
Yeah, and one of the points I made, and again, we had a couple bangers this week on the Twitter front. But one of the things that really irks me, and just like, again, if there any media that ever catches this, like, I'm not personally attacking you. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. Like, I know you have a shit job. It's really hard. But the media has to do a better job, reporting this stuff. The media can't just be like, Kevin Stitt hasn't held a press conference in 90 days or whatever the hell it is. Like, there has to be context with this, because Stitt isn't just like not like the whole point Ron just made. Stitt isn't just like not responding or not doing anything. He's actively making this worse. He is signing laws that end our ability to fix anything. And, giving him a microphone and catching him, I mean, Storm Jones got some blowback for it, but like catching him outside of Ponca City and being like, what do you think of COVID? And then him just saying like, well, I believe in personal responsibility, and I think, we just got to get used to it, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that is not what anybody is recommending. Like, nobody that has a brain or knows anything about viruses or public health or what we should do as a caring, thoughtful, reasonable society thinks we should just like open the gates and let it go. So if you're not putting that right next to every single time you ask Kevin Stitt a question, you're kind of fucking up, in my opinion. Like, it's propaganda. Like, you are just giving him a microphone and having him shout into it bullshit and then blasting on the airwaves with virtually no context. That's propaganda.
I think that every news or media site in the state of Oklahoma should just have a blank headline at the top. Well, a headline at the top that says, Stitt still fucking up. And then below that, like the subtitle, you can write in how he fucking up. But you should just there should be Stitt still fucking up, more Oklahomans die. Like, Stitt still fucking up, eating s'mores while more Oklahomans die. Stitt still fucking up. Some wrestlers came from Ponca City while more Oklahomans died. Like, just put that, listen, I am not a media guru, but I just take that from that advice from good old Ron.